Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a full mix of an instrumental for you from start to finish so that you can basically learn how, or that you can get some tips from how to mix your own. As always, I use nothing but FL stock sounds and FL stock plugins to do this. So if you have FL Studio, you should have just about every sound that I'm using, minus the ones that I created, which is only one in here. And you should have all the plugins that I'm going to be using. Now, it does depend on what edition of FL Studio you have, because some editions don't have every plugin or every VST. This one I am going to be using a VST that is only in certain editions of FL Studio. So if you don't have this VST, that's okay. There are similar sounds, and you can always do you can always choose whatever sounds you want to choose. You don't have to use these specific sounds. But without any further ado, I'm going to stop talking your head off about this. Let's get right into this instrumental. So as you can see here, I have it laid out already, and I'm going to let you hear what it sounds like. And this is going to be the before, and then we'll start our mix, and I'll show you my process. So as you can hear, some things are way too loud, some things are overlapping other things. If you just listen, you don't even have to listen close. You can tell that some things are clashing with each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to take care of that. Now, I know that a lot of producers, or I tend to see a lot of producers that try to mix as they go, and that is something that I used to do myself, but now I do my full mix at the end. It's okay to kind of mix while you go, but I like to add everything on at the end nowadays. Sometimes I will, maybe put a little reverb or delay on my piano or something at first, just to, create the vibe that I'm going for, to facilitate that a little bit further. But in this video, I'm going to just show you from scratch as far as my mixing goes. So I'm going to bring my mixer over here on the screen. I have mine detached because I have it on another screen. Everything is sent here to the mixer, and what I'm going to do is first I'm going to just highlight everything. I'm pressing control, and I'm just clicking and dragging, and I'm highlighting everything, and I'm going to bring everything down. I'm going to click one again, and that's just going to unhighlight everything. Now, what I tend to do is I like to go with my drums first, get the loudest part to where I want it to be, and then I'll blend everything in from there, and then we'll do our panning and whatever panning that we want to do, and then we'll start adding on plugins. Or really, the panning and the plugins kind of go hand in hand. I kind of do that all at the same time. I'm going to start with just my kick, because I want my kick to be the loudest thing. Now, I have two kicks. I got a kick right here, and I have a kick right here, and I want these to be together. So I'm going to create a bus track, or an auxiliary track, but right here I'm going to just call it kick bus. And I'm going to color it so I know what it is. We'll just do like orange or something. It's random. It doesn't matter. And then I'm going to send both of those kicks to that channel. So just click on it here, and then click it there. Click on the next kick, and then click it there. And then to just make it a little bit more organized, I'm going to move that track next to my kicks, so I know that my kicks are going here. And then I'm going to blend in these kicks into this track, and this track is going into the master. But I do want to make sure I unlink these from the master. And then now these two kicks are only going straight into this bus, and then this bus is going straight into the master. I'm going to bring these in little by little. First, I have to determine which one of the kicks is going to be my main kick and the sub kick. I chose two different kicks because they both have the quality of the sound of the kick that I want, but I want to blend them in a specific way. So we'll start with this one. And that one has more of a smack to it on the top, and so I want that to peek through. So I'm going to blend this one in under it. So as you can hear, this kick is a little bit louder than this kick, and that's kind of how I want it to be. But this kick has a lot more punch to it, so I want this kick to, I want to hear that punch, but I also want to hear that smack at the beginning. Now I'm going to go over into the bus itself, and I'm actually going to throw on the EQ, just a quick EQ for just to kind of see where it's at. In this area is the area that I want to boost, but I'm not going to boost it just yet because I'm going to do that later as I get everything leveled to where I want it to be. But just wanted to see, I wanted you to see what it's looking like now. So the punch is here, and then the smack that I want is right around this area. So anyway, let's go. After that, we're going to go to our snare, and I have 2 snares as well. This is a snare here, and there's a snare here, and I'm also going to create another bus track for that one, for those. Then I'm going to send this next to the snares, and now I'm going to send both of these snares away from the mixer, the master, into the snare bus, or send, however you want to call it, auxiliary. And now these 2 are going into here, and I can actually group them and kind of make it a little bit more visual. So separate them here, maybe a separator here. That way it's easier to see what you're doing. Now I'm just going to blend in the snares, and one snare is the main snare, the other one is basically the sub snare, or the snare that's going to be playing like the counter hits and whatnot. They both do the same thing for the most part, but one of them's doing some flams and some extra rolls. And mind you, these things do change. As music comes in, I'll start to change some levels even more. But this is just a start to get everything where I want it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my hi-hat here. Maybe bring that snare up some more. And that is all for the drums currently right now. I'm going to, of course, do more to it. But let's move over to our bass. I want to bring the bass in right here. And I want my bass to kind of sit under my kick drum, but not completely like tucked away under it. I want them to kind of sound like the kick drum is causing the bass. This is the kick drum, and you can see here the kick drum is hitting a lot harder than the bass. And that's for now. I'm going to end up putting distortion on both the kick bus and the bass, so it's going to change it. It's going to make it a lot louder, but then I'll bring those down again, blending that in. This is just, like I said, leveling everything out. The next thing I want to do is I want to bring in this piano. I have 2 pianos, but I don't want to send these to a bus because these pianos, although they're doing the same thing, they're here to one is just here to complement the other on a separate side. So we'll start with the main piano, which is the Rhodes. We're going to go ahead and move this Rhodes to the left. That wasn't the right one. We're going to go ahead and move this Rhodes to the left. Not all the way, just a little bit. Now let's bring in the electric piano. And as you can hear, one of the pianos has an extra note in it than the other one don't. So the Rhodes is doing something over here that you don't hear in the electric piano. This F right here is going bump, bump, bump. The electric piano isn't doing that. The electric piano doesn't have those notes in it. It's just following the Rhodes piano. But anyway, here we go. If I turn this off, you can barely hear it. And I cut it back on, it's gonna make a big difference. off. It fills it up some. It complements that Rhodes piano. All right, next let's bring in, I'm going to bring in the pad here. And this pad is the one thing that is from a plugin that you may not have available, but I also created this sound anyway. So you won't have this sound, but you do have this pad, or you have this plugin, I'm sorry. We're going to bring that in because that's something that's going to sit below everything. It's going to sit and kind of ride underneath everything and give us that atmosphere and put us in a certain space. It's more like a texture kind of thing. You can barely hear it, but if I cut this off, you don't hear it at all. But once I bring it in, you can really tell it's a big difference. Small things make huge difference. You don't have to do the biggest cuts or the biggest volume boosts and anything like that. It's small things that really characterize that instrumental for you. So I want you to take, if you don't take anything from this video, take that. It's the small things that really matter. And now I have a lot of strings in this. I got a string solo, a string section, and I just got another set of strings. The thing about the strings is they all mainly sit in the same frequency spectrum. I am playing some a little higher and some a little lower, but they have the same texture, similar texture. I wouldn't say the same texture. They have similar textures. So I'm going to have to do a lot of moving with these. So the main strings is going to be the one that sits low with the bass. And this is going to be that texture string that gives us that aggressive sound that we want. I'm going to keep this one in the middle because it's playing solo and I don't want to be left to right with that. And it's also going to play under the bass, or it's going to play with the bass basically. It's going to give the bass more character. And let's bring in the other string. This is the string section. This string section here is the actual melody to the song. So this one is gonna sit, I think I'm gonna move this one to the right. And I also already have these strings like panning left to right in the notes themselves. So if we go into the MIDI here and we go down here to note pan, you can see I'm already panning things left to right. Not very much, but I do have things panned already just to kind of give it a little bit of motion when it comes to the strings here, that string section. So I'm actually going to pan this one to the left, I do believe. And then the next string section. And this one's gonna be more like our rhythm, not our melody, but our rhythm that we're going for. Maybe not that far, right? I am at the point where everything is kind of leveled where I want it to be for now. Now I'm just going to start adding on the plugins and whatnot. But this is what it sounds like all leveled out. All right, so the first thing I'm going to work on when it comes to the plugin, I'm going to go back to my kick drum here, and I'm going to go ahead and EQ everything here. Kind of get that curve where I want it to be. And I say, try not to use your eyes too much with this. Use your ears more than anything. So what I would do especially for a beginner, I would just turn this monitor off so you can't monitor anything. And and just kind of go with what you feel here. After the parametric EQ, I'm going to add a distortion. It's a fast distortion, and this is going to give it a good top end saturation to it and give it a little bit more punch. I'm just going to go ahead and turn this all the way up. Let's turn this mix down, and then let's work on the threshold first, and then we'll move into the mix. Hear that punch? I'm gonna throw one more EQ on it, and I'm just gonna boost this high end again, right around here. Right about here. And that's really all I'm going to do to that kick drum. I'm going to bring the volume back down because now it's really, really loud. And since I went ahead and worked on the kick drum, I'm going to work on the bass now. I'm going to throw an EQ on the bass first to clean it up some. I want to boost this in too as well. And as you can see, this doesn't have very much high end to it at all. But we want that high end. That high end is really aggressive. It's a really aggressive kind of sound, and it makes that bass sound like it's driving. And so I'm going to throw on another fast distortion here. Turn that all the way up. Let's turn this mix down. Let's get this threshold set. And it really gives it some aggressiveness to it. One more time, we'll add an EQ to it, and we're just gonna bring up that end. You see how it's much more harmonics up on this end, and that's what we really want. Let's bring it up just a little bit. And we'll kind of dip this in. And now we just turn that bass down some. If we take that one string section out and listen to that bass without it, make some more adjustments here. There we go. And now with those strings and that bass working together, it sounds so much more aggressive. And that's all I'm going to do to the bass and to the kick drum. Now we're going to work on our piano here. And what I'm going to do to work on my piano, I'm going to solo it out first. And I'm going to add the EQ. And you don't have to EQ everything. I'm EQing things because I know what frequencies I want to stand out. And I want this World's piano to sound a little bit more warm than what it is. This is what it sounds like now. And there's this area right around here. Where everything sounds a little bit more warm. So I want to kind of find where it's warmer at, and I'll boost it there. So right there, that's a good warm spot. And let's go ahead and take that low end out because we don't need it. Such a warmer feeling. So if we go without it, bypass it. Let's cut it back on. Sounds much warmer. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, yeah. And I'm going to throw on a reverb here because I want this to be in a certain space. What I like to do with reverb, I cut the wet all the way up, the dry all the way down. Now we can focus on our decay and our damp. Let's cut this high cut up some too. And now let's just focus on the decay and the damp. And I know it's going to sound like a lot right now because I'm just going to blend it in with the knob on the mixer, but I'm going to try and listen to the space that I want it to sound like it's in. And then I'm just going to blend it in with this knob here. So this knob, turn it all the way down and just get it to where we want it. Perfect. Didn't even have to try hard. And then I'm going to throw a little bit of delay on it as well. Delay 2, very simple, very easy. Basically the same principle here. I'm going to cut this all the way down. And I'm going to also cut this volume down here. This is how long the feedback lasts. And I'm going to actually keep it normal. And let's see what it sounds like right here. Also, blending it in with this knob again. And you don't need much at all, you know, just a little bit. And that's actually going to stop. I'm going to stop right there when it comes to this one. And I'm going to go and turn this one on. And I'm just going to add the reverb to this one. That's about it. I think the piano sounds good enough by itself. Plus, it's only here to complement the Rode. So I'm just going to add a little reverb to it. Matter of fact, let's delete this off here, and then we'll just take this reverb because we want to be in the same space. So we'll hit that, save preset as, drag it, and just drop it right onto electric. And now we can just blend it in from here. Let's cut everything back on. I like that. The only thing is I think the bass is maybe a little too loud to hear those pianos. I'm not going to cut the bass down. I'm going to cut the pianos up. Maybe cut the bass down a little bit. And this. And now let's work on our string section here. Let's do something like, go to the EQ on this one, and let's identify what we want to stand out. With this string section, since this is the melody, I want more of the high end of this one to stand out. So we'll take out a lot of that low end. Let's drag it like this. And as you can see, I'm not doing a lot of cutting. I'm doing more boosting than I'm doing anything here. Throw a little reverb on it, and we want this one to sound a little bit more wide. So we're going to make it the decay much bigger here. Bring that damp down, high cut up, and let's make the size much bigger. And let's just blend it in. If we listen to it by itself, and let's throw some delay on it as well. Same thing here, bring this down. Bring this volume knob down here, and we're going to invert this one. Now let's just blend it in. Let's try a shorter delay here. Maybe even offset it some here to the right. I like that. Let's blend it in with everything. Sounds good to me. All right, next thing is the next set of strings. And these we're going to listen for on the lower end of things with our EQ. This is more of a punchy, stabby, and as you can see here, it's got a good high end to it, but we want it to also be kind of warm. So let's find that warm spot. All right, with this one, we're also going to throw some reverb on it. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to copy this reverb over because I want them to sound like they're in the same space. Just drag it and drop it right onto that one. And then we'll just blend it in. And we can hear it without everything. And throw the delay on it as well. Keep this one at 4. And we're going to offset this one to the other side. A little harder here. Maybe cut this one shorter again because there's that one part of this, and I want that to be a little shorter as far as the delay goes. And maybe even last a little longer too. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Let's hear with everything. And I think I want that, instead of the melody being the one that stands out the most, I think I want this one to stand out more. So I'm going to bring it up some. And with our pad, only thing we're going to do is throw EQ on the pad, and then we're just going to cut out a lot of the low end of the pad, maybe using up, because we don't need it. We'll do something like this, and we'll just kind of hear it by itself and see what space is in. Now with this set of strings here, I'm hearing something a little bit more crispy with it, so I'm gonna throw EQ on it. I'm gonna kind of boost that in. Yeah. And now let's work on our snare, because our snare seems to be buried behind everything. Throw EQ on it and find the frequency that we want to boost. Right here. In the body of it. And what we're doing is we're not just boosting one snare, we're boosting them both at the same time, or EQing them both at the same time. So we'll throw a distortion on it as well. We're going to bring it up, but we want it to sound a lot more aggressive. Now let's throw a little reverb on it because our snare drum sounds really dry right now. So we wanted to kind of have a space of its own as well. But we don't want like a big, huge reverb on this. We'll do the same little thing that we normally do here, but we'll cut this down. We'll cut this down as well. And let's give it a bigger size here. Maybe cut some of that high out, and let's just hear what it sounds like blending it in. I think what will make that snare kind of stand out a little bit better, or not stand out so hard, should I say, is if we go in here and kind of adjust some of these volumes here. See right there? We'll bring it down some more. So this is kind of like a grace note sound. And now I'm going to do a kind of a soft master to it because we're actually going to be writing a song to this instrumental today. I'm not going to lay it out or arrange it in the arrangement that it's going to be in because it's going to change. And I'm most likely going to add a guitar to this. So in the original song, or in the final song, you should hear it. But I am going to do like a soft master just to kind of show you how I get my instrumentals to sound so loud and crispy without actually going over 0 dB. So as you can see on the master, it's almost to it. It's not quite there at 0, but what I'm going to do is, first off, I'm going to clean it up here. And what we're focusing on is, what do we want to feel the most? Not hear the most, but what do we want to feel the most? And what I want to feel the most in this is those strings. So I'm going to find my area where my strings are, and I'm going to kind of boost it up some. They're in this area here. And maybe even boost the low end a little bit. Give some more of that sub to it, right? And then I'm going to throw on, what I like to do is add saturation, but I use the wave shaper to do my saturation. So I'm going to add the wave shaper on here. And then there's this one called fuzzy, here we are. That's not the one, it's got to be fuzzy too. That's it right there. So I like to use this, and as you can hear, it gives you that rattle at the top. You know what I'm saying? It sounds real gross. We're just going to bring it in a little bit. And I'm going to add some more saturation to it as well, but this is just like the first round of saturation. Without it, with it. It's not much, but man, it makes a huge difference. So we go without it. And let's bring it in. Right. That's beautiful. Next thing I'm going to do, very simple on the master. You don't need too much. Go to our limiter. I know a lot of people like to use soft clipper. I never use soft clipper. There's nothing against it. It's just that it doesn't work for me in my mixes, so I don't use the soft clipper. I use limiter because limiter, I could add more saturation to it right here. And then you'll notice before I add the saturation, the dB is about up here. But once I add saturation, it brings it down. And now I can bring it up in volume with this gain here. Listen. And now that I have that all done, I'm going to do just one more slight mix to the volumes of everything to get them sounding how I want to sound. So it sounds counterproductive, but I promise you, it just works for me. So I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to cut them back down, all the way back down. I'm going to take this here, bring it back up, and bring this one back up as well, since these are buses. And then we're just going to blend everything in here. here. That bass has got a little bit too much distortion in it. Let's just cut it down some. Go to the threshold here. There we go. Let's go here and boost up the low. And when you do stuff like this, when you go back to do that second mix in, you start to hear different things. So you start to be able to kind of identify different things. But let's hear it all together. That sounds good. Push out a little bit more. And that is actually going to be it for this one. Now, this is all trial and error, really. You could do it how you want to. If you want to do it to taste, you want to make sure you are listening closely, listening carefully. You don't want to make sure, you also want to make sure you're not sitting here mixing for hours at a time. You just want to make sure you get it done little by little. If you know what I mean. Basically, go step by step when you do it. And try not to mix at a very loud volume either, because that's going to make it kind of hard if everything sounds good when it's loud. But anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. Once again, thank y'all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed it all, and I will see you in the next video.